Greetings, everybody, as we continue with our laborious task, long laborious task of reading the Mahabharata. I say laborious, not in a negative way, but it's just very long. And now we're in the midst of the war, when the Bhishma Vadha Parva. So there have been various combats and duels, and it's all going on. Days have passed. The adversaries camp at night and then rearrange themselves in the next morning in their various vyuhas and attack each other. So we're continuing in the midst of that. All of this is leading up to the bringing down of grandfather Bhishma, but it takes a while to get there. And then once we're done with that, then we have the Drona Vadha Parva. So for 3 days, Drona, after Bhishma's fall, for 3 days, Drona becomes the commander and is eventually slain by Drishtadyumna. But anyway, I don't want to jump ahead of myself. So before I start, I'll say a Mangala Charana, an auspicious invocation. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhanvitangscha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Oh, by the way, Akshaya Tritiya greetings and blessings to everyone. So, Bhishma Vadha Parva, chapter 942, part 82. Sanjaya said, so Sanjaya is describing to Dhritarashtra in the court at Hastinapur what happened throughout these 10 days. On seeing that the spirited Chitrasena was without a chariot, your son Vikarna picked him up on his own chariot. An extremely tumultuous and fierce battle raged there. Bhishma, Shantanu's son, swiftly attacked Yudhishthira. With their chariots, elephants, and horses, the Srinjayas trembled. They thought that Yudhishthira was already inside the mouth of death. However, the Lord Kauravya Yudhishthira, together with the twins, attacked the great archer and tiger among men, Bhishma, Shantanu's son. In that battle, Pandava shot thousands of arrows. They enveloped Bhishma like clouds covering the sky. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, Gangeya received a net of innumerable arrows, in hundreds and thousands. O venerable one, Bhishma also released a net of arrows. It looked like a swarm traveling through the sky. In that battle, in an instant, Bhishma, Shantanu's son, made Kaunteya invisible in the encounter through the net of arrows he shot in groups. King Yudhishthira was enraged and dispatched an iron arrow at the great-souled Kauravya. It was like a virulent serpent, O king, but before it could reach him in that encounter, Maharata Bhishma used a Kshurapara arrow to slice down the weapon released from the bow. Having destroyed the iron arrow in battle, which was like death, Bhishma killed the horses, decorated with gold, of the Indra among Kauravas. That's Yudhishthira. With the horses slain, Yudhishthira, Dharma's son, abandoned the chariot and swiftly ascended the chariot of the great-souled Nakula. Bhishma, the destroyer of enemy cities, was extremely enraged in that battle. He attacked the twins and covered them with arrows. O great king, on seeing that they were oppressed by Bhishma's arrows, he, footnote Yudhishthira, desired Bhishma's death and anxiously thought about the means. Yudhishthira addressed all the kings and well-wishers who were following him. All of you unite and kill Bhishma, Shantanu's son. All the kings heard the words of Pandu that Partha had addressed, and they surrounded the grandfather with a large number of chariots. Your father, Devavrata, was surrounded in every direction. O king, he seemed to be playing with his bow and brought down those Maharatas. While all the Parthas looked on, Kaurava strode around on that field of battle like a lion cub in the forest amidst a herd of deer. He roared in the battle and frightened the brave ones with his arrows. O great king, they were frightened on seeing, like a herd of deer at a lion. The Kshatriyas saw the movements of that lion among the Bharata lineage in that battle. He was like a fire consuming dry wood, aided by the wind. In that encounter, Bhishma brought down the heads of the Rattas like a skilled man bringing down ripe fruit from a palm tree. O great king, as those heads fell down the ground, there was a tremendous sound, like that of stones falling down. There was a tumultuous and extremely terrible battle. There was great and extreme confusion among all those soldiers. The vyuhas of the Kshatriyas were thus shattered. In that battle, they challenged one another to fight. Shikandi forcefully approached the grandfather of the Bharatas, asking him to wait. But Bhishma avoided Shikandi in that battle, remembering Shikandi's feminine nature. Instead, he angrily attacked the Srinjayas. On seeing Maharata Bhishma, the Srinjayas were delighted. They roared like lions and uttered many other shouts. These mingled with the sound of conch shells. O Lord, this was a time when the sun was stationed on the other side of the directions. Footnote. It was afternoon and the sun was in the west of the sky. End of footnote. A battle with chariots and elephants commenced. Panchala Dhristadyumna and Maharata Satyaki oppressed the soldiers terribly, using a shower of spears and javelins. O king, in that battle they used many arrows to strike down those on your side. O bull among men, those on your side were killed in that battle. The noble ones were resolved to fight in that battle and did not retreat from the encounter. In that battle, those Maharata men strove to the best of their endeavors. But a great lamentation arose among the great-souled ones on your side. On hearing this terrible lamentation amidst the Maharatas on your side, Vinda and Anuvinda from Avanti attacked Parshva. That means Drishtadyumna. Those swift Maharatas slew his horses. They enveloped Parshata with a shower of arrows. At this, the extremely strong Panchala quickly jumped down from his chariot. He swiftly ascended the chariot of the extremely great-souled Satyaki. King Yudhishthira was surrounded by a large army. With this, in that battle, he angrily attacked the scourters of enemies from Avanti. O venerable one, Your sons made every effort to surround Vinda and Anuvinda from Avanti. O bull among the Kshatriya lineage, Arjuna angrily fought against the Kshatriyas. He fought in that battle like the wielder of the Vajra against the Asuras. Drona was also angry in that battle, wishing to do that which would bring your son pleasure. He began to consume all the Panchalas like a fire amidst a mass of cotton. O Lord of the earth, with Duryodhana at the forefront, your sons surrounded Bhishma in that battle and fought against the Pandavas. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, when the sun assumed a reddish tinge, King Duryodhana spoke to all those who were on your side. Do not delay. They fought on and accomplished extremely difficult tasks, but the sun ascended the Asta mountain. Footnote, the mountain behind which the sun sets. End of footnote. And could no longer be seen. An extremely terrible river began to flow, and its current and waves were made out of blood. It was infested with masses of jackals, and it was the moment of twilight. Jackals let out fearful howls, and it was inauspicious. The terrible field of battle was infested with the spirits of the dead. Rakshasas, Pisachas, and others who fed on flesh were seen in every direction. Somebody asked recently, how did they clean up after the battle? In hundreds and thousands, Arjuna vanquished the kings who followed Shusharma, together with their followers. In the midst of his divisions, he then proceeded towards his own camp. O Indra among kings, since it was night, surrounded by the soldiers, and with his brothers, King Kauravaya, Yudhishthira also went to his own camp. Having vanquished the Rathas headed by Duryodhana in battle, Bhimashena also went to his own camp. In that great battle, Duryodhana was surrounded by the kings. With Bhishma, Shantanu's son, he swiftly went to his camp. Surrounded by all their armies, Drona's son, Kripa, Shalya, and Satvata Kritavarma also went to their camps. O king, surrounded in the battle by all of the warriors, Satyaki and Parshata Drishtadyumna also went to their camps. O great king, when it was night, thus did the scorchers of enemies on your side and on that of the Pandavas retreat. The Pandavas and the Kurus went to their own camps. O great king, they entered and honored each other. The brave ones made arrangements for protecting themselves and set up outposts according to the prescribed methods. They removed the stakes and bathed in different kinds of water. They removed the stakes, footnote, from the wounds, end of footnote, and bathed in different kinds of water. Benedictions were pronounced, and all of them were praised by bards. Get ready, Kanan. Those illustrious ones sported to the sound of singing and the playing of musical instruments. For a short while, everything seemed to be like heaven. The Maharajas did not speak at all about what transpired in the battle. O king, having been exhausted, all the people in their armies slept. O king, with the large numbers of elephants and horses. It was seen to be beautiful. Ready? So it's 88 now.
Continuing from within Ganguli's translation.
Very good.
Sanjaya said, having passed the night in sound sleep, those rulers of men, Kauravas and the Pandavas, once more proceeded to battle. And when the troops of both armies were about to proceed to the field, great was the uproar heard there, resembling the loud uproar of the ocean itself. Then King Duryodhana and Chitrasena and Vivintsati, and that foremost of car warriors, Bhishma, and Bharadwaja's son, possessed of great prowess. Those mighty car warriors, clad in mail and uniting together, O king, formed with great care the array of the Kauravas against the Pandavas. Having formed that mighty array, fierce as the ocean, and having for its billows and current its steeds and elephants, thy sire Bhishma, the son of Shantanu, then, O king, proceeded in the van of the whole army, supported by the Mallavas and the inhabitants of the southern countries and the Avantis. Next to him was the valiant son of Bharadwaja, accompanied by the Pulindas, the Paradas, and the Shudraka Mallavas. Next to Drona was the valiant Bhagadatta, O king, firmly resolved on fight, accompanied by the Magadhas, the Kalingas, and the Pisachas. Behind Bhagadatta was Rihadvala, the king of the Koshalas, accompanied by the Melakas, the Tripuras, and the Chichalas. Next to Rihadvala was the brave Trigartha, the ruler of the Prastala, accompanied by a large number of the Kambojas and by Yavanas in thousands. Next to the ruler of the Trigartas, O Bharata, proceeded that mighty hero, the son of Drona, uttering leonine roars and filling the earth with those shouts. Next to Drona's son proceeded King Duryodhana with the whole army, surrounded by his uterine brothers. Behind Duryodhana proceeded Kripa, the son of Saradwat. It was thus that mighty array, resembling the very ocean, advanced to battle. And standards and white umbrellas, O Lord, and beautiful bracelets and costly bows shed their effulgence there. And beholding that mighty array of thy forces, that great car warrior Yudhisthira speedily addressed the generalissimo of his forces, Prashata's son, saying, Behold, O great bowman, that array, already formed, resembling the ocean. Do thou also, O son of Prashata, form without delay thy counter-array. Thus addressed, the heroic son of Prashata, O great king, formed that terrible array called Shringataka, that is destructive of all hostile arrays. At the horns were Bhimasen and that mighty car warrior Satyaki, with many thousands of cars as also of horse and infantry. Next to them was that foremost of men, Arjuna, of white steeds and having Krishna for his charioteer. In the center were King Yudhisthira and the twin sons of Pandu by Madri. Other royal bowmen, conversant with the science of arrays, with their troops, filled up that array. In the rear were ordered Abhimanyu and that mighty car warrior Virata, and the sons of Draupadi and the Rakshasa Gatotkacha. Thus, O Bharata, having formed their mighty array, the heroic Pandavas waited on the field, longing for battle and desirous of victory. And the loud noise of drums mingling with the blare of conches and leonine roars and shouts of the combatants and the slapping of their armpits became terrible and filled all the points of the compass. Then those brave warriors, approaching one another for battle, looked at one another. O king, with winkless eyes. Then, O ruler of men, the warriors, first challenging each other by name, engaged with each other. Then commenced a fierce and terrible battle between thy troops and those of the foe, striking one another. And in that battle, O Bharata, whetted shafts fell in showers like terrible snakes with mouths wide open, and polished darts of impetuous force, washed with oil, O king, shone like the effulgent flashes of lightning from the clouds. And maces, decked with gold and attached to bright slings, were seen to fall all over the field, resembling beautiful crests of hills. And sabres of the colour of the clear blue sky, O Bharata, and shields of bulls' hides and decked with 100 moons, as they fell everywhere over the field, O king, looked beautiful. And as the two armies, O king, were engaged in battle with each other, they looked resplendent like the celestial and the demoniac hosts battling with each other. All around they rushed against one another in battle, foremost of royal Ka warriors, impetuously dashing against Ka warriors in that dreadful battle, fought on, with the yokes of their cars entangled with those of their adversaries. And, O bull of Bharata's race, all over the field flashes of fire mixed with smoke were generated, in consequence of friction, in the tusks of battling elephants. And combatants on the backs of elephants struck with lances were seen all around to fall down like blocks loosened from crests of hills. And brave foot soldiers battling with their bare arms or with lances and striking one another looked exceedingly beautiful. And the warriors of the Kaurava and the Pandava hosts, coming upon one another in that conflict, dispatched one another with diverse kinds of shafts to the abode of Yama. Then Bhishma, the son of Shantanu, filling the air with the rattle of his car, and depriving the foe of his senses by the twang of his bow, rushed against the Pandavas in battle. The car warriors of the Pandavas too, headed by Drishtadyumna, uttering fierce shouts, rushed at him, firmly resolved on fight. Then commenced, O Bharata, a battle between the infantry, car warriors, and elephants of theirs and thine, in which the combatants became all entangled with one another. I'll do one more and then pass it along. Chapter 89. Sanjaya said, the Pandavas were incapable of even looking at Bhishma, excited with rage in battle and scorching every side like the sun himself, shedding scorching heat. Then all the Pandava troops, at the command of Dharma's son, rushed at the son of Ganga, who was grinding everything with his whetted arrows. Bhishma, however, who delighted in battle, felled the mightiest of bowmen amongst the Srinjayas and the Panchalas with his shafts. Though thus slaughtered by Bhishma, the Panchalas, along with the Somakas, still rushed impetuously at him, forsaking the fear of death. The heroic Bhishma, the son of Shantanu, however, in that battle, cut off, O king, the arms and heads of their car warriors. Thy sire, Devavrata, deprived their car warriors of cars, and the heads of cavalry soldiers on their chargers fell fast. And we beheld, O king, huge elephants, looking like hills deprived of their riders and paralyzed with Bhishma's weapons, lying all around. Amongst the Pandavas, O king, there was no other man save that foremost of car warriors, the mighty Bhimasen, who could resist Bhishma. Indeed, Bhima alone, approaching Bhishma, encountered him in battle. Then in that encounter between Bhima and Bhishma, a fierce and terrible uproar arose among all the troops of the Kauravas. The Pandavas then, filled with joy, uttered leonine shouts. During that destructive carnage, King Duryodhana, surrounded by his uterine brothers, protected Bhishma in that battle. Then that foremost of Car warriors, Bhima, slew Bhishma's charioteer. Thereupon the steeds, no longer controlled, ran away from the field with Car. Then that slayer of foes, Bhima, with a sharp arrow having a horseshoe head, cut off the head of Sunabha. Thus slain, the latter fell down on the earth. When that son of thine, that mighty Car, warrior and great bowman, was slain, 7 of his heroic brothers, O sire, could not quietly bear that act. These, Adityaketu, and Vavasin, and Kudadhara, and Mahodara, and Aparijita, and Panditaka, and the invincible Visalaksha, clad in variegated armor and with their beautiful coats of mail and weapons. These, grinders of foes, desirous of battle, rushed against the son of Pandu. And Mahodara, in that battle, pierced Bhimasen with 9 winged arrows, each resembling the thunderbolt in force, like the slayer of Vritra striking the great Asura Namuchi. And Adityaketu struck him with 70 shafts, and Vishnu with 5, and Kudadhara struck him with 90 shafts, and Vilaksha with 7, and that conqueror of foes, the mighty Car warrior Aparajita, O king, struck Bhimasen of great strength with many arrows. And Panditaka also, in battle, pierced him with 3 arrows. Bhima, however, did not quietly bear these attacks of his foes in battle. Forcibly grasping the bow with his left hand, that grinder of foes cut off, in that battle, the head with a straight shaft of thy son Aparajita, graced with a fine nose. Thus vanquished by Bhima, his head then dropped on the ground. Then, in the very sight of all the troops, Bhima dispatched with another broad-headed arrow the mighty Car warrior Kuntadara to the domain of death. Then that hero of immeasurable soul, once more aiming an arrow, sped it, O Bharata, at Panditaka in that battle. And the arrow killing Panditaka entered the earth like a snake impelled by death, quickly entering the earth after dispatching the person whose hour had come. Of undepressed soul, that hero then, O king, recollecting his former woes, felled Visalaksha's head, cutting it off with 3 arrows. Then Bhima, in that battle, struck the mighty bowman Mahodara in the center of the chest with a long shaft. Slain therewith, O king, the latter fell down on the earth. Then, O Bharata, cutting off with an arrow the umbrella of Adityaketu in that battle, he severed his head with another broad-headed shaft of exceeding sharpness. Then, O monarch, excited with rage, Bhima, with another straight shaft, dispatched Vavasin towards the abode of Yama. Then thy other sons, O king, all fled away, regarding the words to be true which Bhima had uttered in the midst of the Kaurava assembly. Then King Duryodhana, afflicted with sorrow on account of his brothers, addressed all his troops, saying, "There is Bhima, let him be slain." Thus, O king, thy sons, those mighty bowmen, beholding their brothers slain, recollected those words beneficial and peaceful that Vidura of great wisdom had spoken. Indeed, those words of the truthful Vidura are now being realized. Those beneficial words, O king, which influenced by covetousness and folly, as also by affection for thy sons, thou couldst not then understand. From the way in which that mighty armed hero is slaying the Kauravas, it seemeth that that mighty son of Pandu hath assuredly taken his birth for the destruction of thy sons. Meanwhile, King Duryodhana, O sire, overwhelmed with great grief, went to Bhishma, and there, overcome with sorrow, he began to lament, saying, My heroic brothers have been slain in battle by Bhimesen, although again all our troops are fighting bravely, yet they are also failing. Thou seemest to disregard us, behaving as thou dost, like an indifferent spectator. Alas, what course have I taken? Behold my evil destiny. Sanjaya continued. Hearing these cruel words of Duryodhana, thy sire Devavrata, with eyes filled with tears, said this unto him. Even this was said by me before, as also by Drona and Vidura and the renowned Gandhari. O son, thou didst not then comprehend it. O grinder of foes, it hath also been before settled by me that neither myself nor Drona will ever escape with life from this battle. I tell thee truly that those upon whom Bhima will cast his eyes in battle he will surely slay. Therefore, O king, summoning all thy patience and firmly resolved on battle, fight with the sons of Pritha, making heaven thy goal. As regards the Pandavas, they are incapable of being vanquished by the very gods, with Vasava at their head. Therefore, setting thy heart firmly on battle, fight, O Bharata.
Okay. Chapter 945 of the Mahabharata, section 85 in Debroy's edition, corresponding to Bhishma Parva, section 90 in Ganguli's. So, Bhimasen has killed many of the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra. So, Dhritarashtra said, "Oh, Sanjaya, on seeing that many of my sons are being killed by a single person, what did Bhishma, Drona, and Kripa do in that battle? Oh, Sanjaya, from one day to another, my sons are going to their perdition. Oh, Suta, I think that they have been completely overtaken by terrible destiny, since all my sons are being defeated and are never victorious. O son, my sons are in the midst of Bhishma, Drona, and the great soul Kripa, Somadatta's valiant son, Bhagadatta, Ashwatthama, and many other brave and extremely great souled warriors. Yet they are being killed in the battle. Other than destiny, what can this be? The evil Duryodhana did not comprehend the words that I had spoken earlier. O son, he was restrained by me, and by Bhishma and Vidura. So did Gandhari, always desiring his welfare. But because of his delusion, the wicked one did not understand earlier and is now reaping the fruits. This battle, the angry Bhimasena is killing and conveying my insensate sons to Yama's abode. Sanjaya replied, Kshatra's supreme words were for your own welfare. They have now come true, O Lord. You did not comprehend them then. Vidura had asked you to restrain your sons from the gambling match with the Pandavas and not oppress them. He is a well-wisher with your welfare in mind and spoke truthfully, but you did not heed his words, like a dying man who refuses good medicine. The words spoken by the virtuous have now come to be true. Vidura, Drona, Bhishma, and other well-wishers spoke beneficial words that were not accepted, and the Kauravas are headed towards destruction. O Lord of the earth, all of this is the consequence of what transpired earlier. Now, Listen to the account of the battle exactly as it unfolded. It was midday, and an extremely great and terrible encounter commenced. O king, there was destruction of men. Listen as I describe it. On the instructions of Dharma's son, all the soldiers were enraged and attacked Bhishma, wishing to kill him. O great king, Drishtadyumna, Sikande, Maharata Satyaki, together with their armies, advanced against Bhishma. In that encounter, Arjuna, Draupadi's sons, and Chekitana united and advanced against the kings who were following Duryodhana's command. The brave Abhimanyu, Hidimba's Maharata son, and Bhimasena were enraged and attacked the Kauravas. The Pandavas divided themselves into three parts and fought against the Kauravas. O king, the Kauravas also began to kill the enemies in battle. Drona, best among Rathas, angrily advanced against and fought with the Somakas and the Sarinjayas, dispatching them to Yama's eternal abode. O king, when they were slaughtered in battle by the archer who was Bharadwaja's son, a great lamentation arose among the great-souled Somakas. Drona killed many Kshatriyas in that battle. They were seen to be unconscious, like men afflicted with disease. There were groans, moans, and shrieks in that field of battle. There were continuous sounds, like those uttered by men overcome with hunger. The immensely strong and angry Bhimasena was like terrible death amidst the Kauravas and caused carnage. In that great battle, soldiers killed each other. A terrible river began to flow with waves of blood. O great king, that battle between the Kurus and the Pandavas was great and assumed a terrible form. It extended Yama's kingdom. In particular, Bhima was incited with rage in that battle. He descended on the army of elephants and dispatched them to the land of the dead. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, elephants were struck by Bhima's iron arrows. Some of them fell down, others were paralyzed, others shrieked, still others ran away in different directions. O venerable one, great elephants had their trunks sliced off, their feet sliced off. Terrified, they shrieked like cranes. They fell down on the ground. Nakula and Sahadeva attacked the army of horses. The horses possessed golden harnesses. Their caparisons were made out of gold. They were seen to be slain in hundreds and thousands. O king, the earth was strewn with the horses that had fallen down. Some lost their tongues, others could not breathe, still others shrieked in agony and lost their lives. O best of men, the earth was beautiful with horses of many different forms. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, O Lord of the earth looked resplendent, yet terrible because of that encounter. Arjuna also killed many horses. O king, there were broken chariots, shattered standards, extremely dazzling umbrellas, gold necklaces, bracelets, heads with earrings, loosened headdresses, pennants, and beautiful floors, yokes and reins of chariots everywhere. The earth was as beautiful as spring with its flowers. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, the Pandavas were also confronted with this kind of destruction when the angry Bhishma, Shantanu's son, Drona, the supreme among Rathas, Ashwatthama, Kripa, and Kritavarma were enraged. And when those on the other side became angry, those on your side met with decay. Chapter 946, part 86, chapter 91 in Gangulis. Sanjaya said, O king, when that terrible destruction of brave ones was going on, the illustrious Sakuni Sobala attacked the Pandavas. O king, Hardikya Satota, the destroyer of enemy heroes, attacked the army of the Pandavas in that encounter. That Hardikya Satota is Kritavarma. Pandava's brave, powerful son, the scorcher of enemies, attacked your soldiers in a cheerful frame of mind. He possessed the foremost of speedy horses, the best of those from Cambodia and from the land of the rivers, those from Aratta, Mahi, Sindhu, white ones from Vanayu, and others from mountainous regions. There were other swift ones of the Titira breed, as fleet as the wind. They were armored and ornamented in gold. They were well trained. This brave son of Arjuna was named Iravat. He was born from the intelligent Partha and was the son of the daughter of the king of the Nagas. When her husband was slain by Suparna, she was distressed and depressed in her mind. She was also childless and was bestowed by the great-souled Airavata. She was overcome by the pangs of desire, and Partha accepted her as his wife. Thus it was that Arjuna's son was born in another one's field. Footnote, meaning another person's wife. End of footnote. She was protected by his mother. He grew up in the world of the Nagas. Because of his hatred for Partha, his evil-souled uncle abandoned him. Footnote, this is left dangling. It is probably a reference to the Naga Takshaka, who bore an animosity towards Arjuna because of the destruction of Nagas in Pandava. End of footnote. He was handsome and brave and possessed all the qualities. Truth was his valor. He quickly went to Indra's world when he heard that Arjuna had gone there. The one for whom truth was his valor went to his great-souled father. He anxiously bowed before him. Joining his hands in salutation, he humbly said, O fortunate one, O Lord, I am Iravat. I am your son. He told Pandava everything and reminded him of the circumstances about how he had met with his mother. He embraced his son, who was exactly like him in all the qualities. In the abode of the king of the gods, Partha was delighted, O king. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, that mighty armed Arjuna then commanded him in the world of the gods and affectionately told him about his duty. Come to us when it is the time for war. O Lord, he agreed and went away. In accordance with those words, he presented himself, since the time for battle had come. O king, he was surrounded by many swift horses, with all the complexions that one desires. Those horses bore golden harnesses and were of many hues. They were as swift as thought. O king, they suddenly arrived and were like swans in the great ocean. They attacked the large numbers of your horses, which were also exceedingly fast. They struck each other on the chests and on the noses. O king, those extremely swift horses suddenly fell down on the ground. Those masses of horses clashed against each other and were shattered and fell down. An extremely terrible sound was heard, like that when Suparna descends, O great king. Thus it was that they clashed against each other in the battle. The horse riders fiercely began to kill each other. A tumultuous and fearful encounter raged. On both sides, large numbers of horses dashed around in all directions. The brave ones were mutilated with arrows. The horses were slain. They were overcome with exhaustion. They began to diminish in number, destroying each other with their swords. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, when the armies of the horses were whittled away and only a few were left, Sobala's brave younger brothers rode out in the foremost of that battle. They were astride supreme horses that were like the touch of the wind in their speed. They were as fleet as the wind. They were well trained and not too old or young. Those six were powerful: Gaja, Gavaksha, Vrishaka, Charmavat, Arjava, and Shuka. Footnote: the names of Sakuni's six brothers. Their father was Subala. End of footnote. They advanced with a great army and were supported by Sakuni and their own extremely strong warriors. They were armored and skilled in battle. They were terrible in form and extremely strong. O mighty armed one, with that extremely large army, desiring heaven and victory, they penetrated that supremely invincible army. Unassailable in battle, those from Gandhara cheerfully entered there. On seeing that they had cheerfully penetrated, the valiant Iravat spoke to his own warriors, who were adorned with colorful ornaments and weapons in their hands. Act according to the decreed policy, so that all the warriors of the sons of Dhritarashtra can be killed in this battle, together with their followers and their mounts. Agreeing, all of Iravat's warriors began to slay the ranks of the enemy, though the enemy was invincible in battle. On witnessing that their ranks were being brought down in that battle, all of Subala's sons could not tolerate this state of affairs in the encounter. All of them attacked and surrounded Iravat. They incited each other to attack him with sharp lances. The brave ones dashed around and created a great melee. The great sword Iravat was pierced by those sharp lances. Blood began to flow from his body, and he looked like an elephant wounded by a goad. He was severely wounded on his chariot, his back and his sides. Sorry, on his chest, his back and his sides. O king, he was alone and faced many, but he was not distressed and did not lose his fortitude. Iravat was enraged in that battle. The destroyer of enemy cities confounded all of them by piercing them with sharp arrows. The scorcher of enemies uprooted all the lances from his own body and used them to strike Subala's sons in that battle. He unsheathed a sharp sword and grasped a shield. He swiftly advanced on foot, wishing to kill Subala's sons in that encounter. Having regained their senses, all of Subala's sons became angry and advanced against Iravat. But displaying the dexterity of his hands with the sword and proud of his strength, Iravat attacked all those sons of Subala. He roamed around with such great speed that Subala's sons, though they were on fleet horses, could not find an opportunity to strike him. However, in that battle, seeing him stationed on the ground again, all of them surrounded him at close quarters, wishing to capture him. The destroyer of enemies saw that they were near him. He used his sword to slice off their right hands and their left and mutilated other parts of their bodies. All their arms were adorned with various ornaments. They were seen to fall down. They too, without their limbs, fell down on the ground, devoid of their lives. O great king, in that extremely terrible battle where brave warriors were slaughtered, only Vrishaka escaped, though he was severely wounded. On seeing that all of them had fallen down, Duryodhana was frightened. He spoke to the extremely terrible Rakshasa, who was terrible in form, the scorcher of enemies, was a great archer, and was skilled in Maya. He was the son of Rishyasri. He had earlier become an enemy of Bhimasena on account of the slaying of Baka. O brave one, witness the strength of Falguna's son. He is skilled in Maya and has caused the unpleasant and terrible destruction of my forces. O son, he's talking about Iravat because he's Arjuna's son. O son, you are capable of going anywhere at will. You are skilled in the use of weapons of Maya. You are the sworn enemy of Partha. Therefore, kill him in battle. The Rakshasa, terrible in form, agreed to these words. He roared like a lion and advanced to where Arjuna's young son was. He was surrounded by his own soldiers, who were brave and armed. They were accomplished in fighting, were astride mounts, and were armed with polished lances. He wished to kill the immensely powerful Iravat in battle. The valiant and swift Iravat was enraged. The slayer of enemies countered the Rakshasa who was seeking his death. On seeing that he was descending on him, the extremely powerful Rakshasa swiftly resorted to his powers of Maya. He created a large number of illusory horses. They were ridden by terrible Rakshasas who wielded spears and javelins. 2,000 of these armed ones angrily advanced. The two sides clashed and quickly sent each other to the land of the dead, and the soldiers on both sides had been killed. The two of them, invincible in battle, attacked each other in that encounter like Vritra against Vasava. On seeing the Rakshasa, invincible in battle, advance against him, the extremely strong Iravat was enraged and attacked him. When the evil-minded one approached close, he used his sword to slice off his blazing sword and shattered his shield into 5 parts. On seeing that the bow had been severed, he quickly resorted to the sky and angrily confounded Iravat with his Maya. But Iravat also rose up into the sky and confounded the Rakshasa with his own Maya. He was invincible too and could assume any form at will. He knew about the body's inner organs and pierced his body with his arrows. O great king, the foremost among Rakshasas was repeatedly wounded through these arrows, but he became hale again and regained his youth. Maya is natural to them, and according to their wishes, so are energy, age, and beauty. Thus, though the Rakshasa's limbs were repeatedly mangled, they healed. Iravat used his sharp battle axe to repeatedly slice angrily at the immensely strong Rakshasa. The brave and powerful Rakshasa was repeatedly sliced like a tree and roared terribly, making a tremendous sound. Wounded by the battle axe, the Rakshasa began to profusely shed blood. The powerful one became enraged and continued the battle forcefully. On seeing that the enemy was so energetic in the battle, Rishyasringa's son assumed an extremely terrible and gigantic form. While everybody looked on, he tried to grasp him by the forefront of that battle. But seeing this Maya employed by the great-souled Rakshasa, Iravat angrily created his own Maya. He was overcome by anger and he was one who never retreated from battle. O king, his mother's relatives approached him, and he was surrounded by many Nagas in that battle, assuming a great form like Bhogavat. Footnote. Bhogavati is the capital of the Nagas, and Bhogavat can mean any of the serpents residing there, but it is probably a reference to Ananta. End of footnote. The Rakshasa was enveloped by many kinds of Nagas, enveloped by those Nagas that bull among Rakshasas thought and assumed the form of Suparna, footnote, Garuda, end of footnote, so that he could devour the Nagas. On seeing that his mother's relatives were devoured through Maya, Iravat was confused, and the Rakshasa killed him with his sword. Iravat's head was adorned with earrings and a diadem, and was radiant as a lotus or the moon. The Rakshasa made it fall down on the ground. On seeing that Arjuna's brave son had been slain by the Rakshasa, the sons of Dhritarashtra, together with the kings, became free from sorrow. The great and terrible battle commenced again. The armies attacked each other, and the carnage was great and terrible. Horses, elephants, and infantry became mixed with each other and were killed by tuskers. Chariot riders and elephants were also killed by foot soldiers. O king, Ratas on your side and on theirs killed masses of infantry and chariot riders and many horses in that encounter. Arjuna did not know that his son had been killed in that battle. He slew many kings who were protecting Bhishma. O king, the immensely strong ones on your side and on that of the Srinjayas fought each other in that battle, offering their lives as oblations. Their hair was disheveled. They were without armor. They were without chariots, and their bows had been severed. But they confronted each other and fought with their bare arms. The immensely strong Bhishma killed many Maharatas with arrows that penetrated the innards and made the soldiers of the Pandavas tremble. He killed many men in Yudhishthira's army and many elephants, horse riders, chariot riders, and horses. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, on witnessing Bhishma's valor in that battle, we thought it was an extraordinary as extraordinary as Shakra's valor. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, Bhimasena and Parshaka were also like that. The battle fought by the Satvata archer was also terrible. On witnessing Drona's valor, the Pandavas were overcome by fear. They thought that he was alone capable of killing all the soldiers in battle, not to speak of the situation where he was surrounded by warriors whose bravery was famous on earth. O great king, oppressed by Drona in that battle, they spoke in this fashion. O bull among the Bharata lineage, while that terrible encounter continued between the two armies, the brave ones did not pardon each other. Get ready, Kana. Those immensely strong ones were engrossed in that battle, as if they were overcome by Rakshasas and demons. The archers on your side and those of the Pandavas were enraged. We did not see anyone seeking to protect his life, O Lord of men. It was a battle like that of warriors from among the Daityas themselves.
Can you just clarify the chapter for me, please? Which chapter is it, please? 92. I was
Sorry,
just
yeah,
listening.
92.
Okay. Dhritarashtra said, "Tell me, O Sanjaya, all that the mighty Partha did in battle when they heard that Iravat had been slain. Sanjaya said, "Beholding Iravat slain in battle, the Rakshasa Ghatotkacha, son of Bhimasen, uttered loud shouts, and in consequence of the loudness of those roars, the earth, having the ocean for her robes, along with her mountains and forests, began to tremble violently. And the welkin also, and the quarters, both cardinal and subsidiary, all trembled. And hearing those loud roars of his, O Bharata, the thighs and other limbs of the troops began to tremble, and sweat also appeared on their persons, and all thy combatants, O king, became cheerless of heart. And all over the field of the warriors stood still, like an elephant afraid of the lion. And the Rakshasa, uttering those loud roars resembling the rattle of thunder, assuming a terrible form, and with a blazing spear upraised in hand, and surrounded by many bulls among Rakshasas of fierce forms, armed with diverse weapons, advanced, excited with rage and resembling the destroyer himself at the end of the Yuga. Beholding him advance in wrath, and with a terrible countenance, and seeing also his own troops almost all running away from fear of that Rakshasa, King Duryodhana rushed against Ghatotkacha, taking up his bow with arrow fixed on the string, and repeatedly roaring like a lion. Behind him proceeded the ruler of the Vangas, with 10,000 elephants, huge as hills, and each with juice trickling down. Beholding thy son, O king, thus advancing, surrounded by that elephant division, that ranger of the night, Ghatotkacha, was highly inflamed with rage. Then commenced a battle with utmost vehemences that made the hair stand on end between the formidable Rakshasa and the troops of Duryodhana. And beholding also that elephant division risen on the horizon like a cloud, the Rakshasas, inflamed with rage, rushed towards it, weapons in hand, and uttering diverse roars like clouds charged with lightning. With arrows and darts and swords and long shafts, as also with spears and mallets and battle axes and short arrows, they began to smite down that elephant host, and they slew huge elephants with mountain summits and large trees. While the Rakshasas slew those elephants, O king, we saw that some of them had their frontal globes smashed, some front of the head. Some were bathed in blood, and some had their limbs broken or cut through. At last, when that elephant host was broken and thinned, Duryodhana, O king, rushed upon the Rakshasas under the influence of rage and becoming reckless of his very life. And that mighty warrior sped clouds of sharp shafts at the Rakshasas, and that great bowman slew many of their foremost warriors. Inflamed with rage, O chief of the Bharatas, that mighty Ka warrior, thy son Duryodhana, then slew with 4 shafts 4 of the principal Rakshasas, Vegavat, Maharudra, Vidyajiva, and Pramatin. And once again, O chief of the Bharatas, that warrior of immeasurable soul sped at the Rakshasa host showers of arrows that could with difficulty be resisted. Beholding that great feat of thy son, O sire, the mighty son of Bhimasen blazed up with wrath. Drawing his large bow effulgent as the lightning, he rushed impetuously at the wrathful Duryodhana. Beholding him thus rushing like death himself, commissioned by the destroyer, thy son Duryodhana, O king, shook not at all. With eyes red in anger and excited with rage, Ghatotkacha then, addressing thy son, said, I shall today be freed from the debt I owe to my sires, as also to my mother, they that had so long been exiled by thy cruel self. The sons of Pandu, O king, were vanquished by thee in that match at dice. Drupada's daughter, Krishna, also, while ill and therefore clad in a single raiment, was brought into the assembly, and great trouble was given by thee in diverse ways. O thou most wicked unto her! While dwelling also in her sylvan retreat, thy well-wisher, that wicked wight, the ruler of the Sindhus, persecuted her further, disregarding my sires. For these and other wrongs, O wretch of thy race, I shall today take vengeance if thou dost not quit the field. Having said these words, Hidimva's son, drawing his gigantic bow, biting his nether lip with his teeth, and licking the corners of his mouth, covered Duryodhana with a profuse shower, like a mass of clouds covering the mountain breast with torrents of rain in the rainy season. One night on. Chapter 93. Sanjaya said, that arrowy shower, difficult of being borne by even the Danavas, King Duryodhana, however, quietly bore in that battle like a giant elephant bearing a shower from the blue. Then, filled with anger and sighing like a snake, thy son, O bull of the Bharatas, O bull of Bharata's race, was placed in a position of great danger. He then shot 520 sharp arrows of keen points. These, O king, fell with great force on that bull among Rakshasas, like angry snakes of virulent poison on the breast of Gandhamadana. Pierced with those shafts, blood trickled down the Rakshasa's body, and he looked like an elephant with rent temples. Thereupon, that cannibal set his heart upon the destruction of the Kuru king. Ah, and he took up a huge dart that was capable of piercing even a mountain. Blazing with light, effulgent as a large meteor, it flamed with radiance like the lightning itself. And the mighty armed Gatotkacha, desirous of slaying thy son, raised that dart. Beholding that dart upraised, the ruler of the Vangas, mounting upon an elephant huge as a hill, drove towards the Rakshasa. On the field of battle, the mighty elephant of great speed. Sorry. Bhagadatta placed himself in the very front of Duryodhana's car, and with that elephant he completely shrouded the car of thy son. Beholding then the way to Duryodhana's car, thus covered by the intelligent king of the Vangas, the eyes of Gatotkacha, O king, became red in anger, and he ruled that huge dart before upraised at that elephant. Struck, O king, with that dart hurled from the arms of Gatotkacha, that elephant, covered with blood and in great agony, fell down and died. The mighty king of the Vangas, however, quickly jumping down from that elephant, alighted on the ground. Duryodhana, then beholding the prince of elephants slain, and seeing also his troops broken and giving way, was filled with anguish. From regard, however, for a Kshatriya's duty, as also his own pride, the king, though defeated, stood firm like a hill. Filled with wrath, and aiming a sharp arrow that resembled the Yuga fire in energy, he sped it at that fierce wanderer of the night. Beholding that arrow, blazing as Indra's bolt, thus coursing towards him, the high-souled Gatotkacha baffled it by the celerity of his movements. With eyes red in wrath, he once more shouted fiercely, frightening all thy troops, like the clouds that appeared at the end of the Yuga. Hearing those fierce roars of the terrible Rakshasa, Bhishma, the son of Santanu, approaching the preceptor, said these words. These fierce roars that are heard, uttered by Rakshasas, without doubt indicate that Hidimva's son is battling with King Duryodhana. That Rakshasa is incapable of being vanquished in battle by any creature. Therefore, blessed be ye, go thither and protect the king. The blessed Duryodhana hath been attacked by the high-souled Rakshasa. Therefore, ye chastisers of foes, even this is our highest duty. Hearing those words of the grandsire, those mighty Ka warriors, without loss of time and with the utmost speed, proceeded to the spot where the king of the Kurus was. They met Duryodhana and Somadatta and Valika and Jayadratha and Kripa and Burishravas and Salya and the two princes of Avanti along with Vrihadvara and Ashvatthama and Vikarna and Tritasena and Vivinsati and many thousands of other Ka warriors, including all those that followed them, proceeded, desirous of rescuing thy son Duryodhana, who had been hotly pressed. Beholding that invincible division protected by those mighty Ka warriors, coming towards him with hostile intentions, that best of Rakshasas, the mighty armed Ghatotkacha, stood firm like the Mainaka mountain, with a huge bow in hand, and surrounded by his kinsmen armed with clubs and mallets, and divers other kinds of weapons. Then commenced a fierce battle, making the hair stand on end, between those Rakshasas on the one side, and that foremost of Duryodhana's divisions on the other. And the loud noise of twanging bows in that battle was heard, O king, on all sides, resembling the noise made by burning bamboos. And the din produced by the weapons falling upon the coats of mail of the combatants resembled, O king, the noise of splitting hills. And the lances, O monarch, hurled by heroic arms, while coursing through the welkin, looked like darting snakes. Then, excited with great wrath and drawing his gigantic bow, the mighty armed prince of the Rakshasas, uttering a loud roar, cut off with a crescent-shaped arrow the preceptor's bow in a rage. And overthrowing with another broad-headed arrow the standard of Somadatta, he uttered a loud yell, and he pierced Valika with 3 shafts in the center of the chest, and he pierced Kripa with 1 arrow, and Chitrasena with 3. And with another arrow, well armed and well sped from his bow, drawn to its fullest stretch, he struck Vikarna at the shoulder joint. Thereupon the latter, covered with gore, sat down on the terrace of his car. Then that Rakshasa of immeasurable soul, excited with rage, O bull of Bharata's race, sped at Burishrava's 5 and 10 shafts. These, penetrating through the latter's armor, entered the earth. He then struck the chariot of Vivingsati and Ashvatthama. These fell down on the front of their cars, relinquishing the reins of the steeds. With another crescent-shaped shaft, he overthrew the standard of Jayadratha, bearing the device of a boar and decked with gold. And with a second arrow he cut off the latter's bow. With eyes red in wrath, he slew with 4 shafts the 4 steeds of the high-souled king of Avanti. And with another arrow, O king, well-tempered and sharp, and shot from his bow drawn to its fullest stretch, he pierced King Vrihadvala. Deeply pierced and exceedingly pained, the latter sat down on the terrace of his car. Filled with great wrath and seated on his car, the prince of the Rakshasas then shot many bright arrows, keen points, that resembled snakes of virulent poison. These, O king, succeeded in piercing Shalya, accomplished in battle.
Okay. So that would
That
be
was that was Ganguly's version. Sorry?
yeah. So next in there would be chapter 94. But so
Yes.
here it's 89. And the reason that is because in Debroy's one there's a few sections missing, but we've already gone past those. So it's chapter
Hmm.
949 of the whole Mahabharata.
That was
Part
well
8.
read, by the way. That was really well read, Kanaya. It was really brilliant. Well done.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
yeah, very good. Commendable. So a bit more then. Sanjaya said, in that battle, the Rakshasa made all those on your side retreat from battle. O best of the Bharata lineage, he then rushed at Duryodhana, wishing to kill him. On seeing him, forcefully descended on the king, many on your side, unassailable in battle, attacked him, wishing to kill him. Those immensely strong ones twanged bows that were as long as palm trees. They roared like a group of lions, and together attacked the one who was alone. They surrounded him from every direction and showered down arrows. It was like the slayer of Bala showering rain on mountains during the autumn. He was severely pierced and wounded, like an elephant with a goad. He quickly rose up into the sky, like Vinata's son. Stationed there, he uttered many roars, like clouds during the autumn. His terrible roars echoed in the sky, the directions and the sub-directions. O best of the Bharata lineage, on hearing the sounds emitted by the Rakshasa, King Yudhishthira spoke these words to Bhimasena. The Rakshasa is certainly fighting with the Mahabharata sons of Dhritarashtra. That is the reason we are hearing the sounds of these terrible roars. O son, I see that the burden he has taken on is too much. The angry grandfather is ready to kill the Panchalas. For the sake of protecting them, Falguna is fighting with the enemy. O mighty armed one, two tasks now present themselves. Having heard this, go and protect Hidimba's son. He confronts a great danger. Obeying the words of his brother, Vrikodara swiftly advanced. He roared like a lion, frightening all the kings. O king, he proceeded with great force, like the ocean at the time of the new moon or the full moon. He was followed by Satyadriti and Sochiti, invincible in battle, Shrenimat, Vasudan, and the Lord who was the son of the king of Kashi. There were many other Maharathas, with Abhimanyu at the forefront, Draupadi's sons, the valiant Kshatradeva, Kshatradharma, and Nila, lord of the marshy regions, together with his own soldiers. They surrounded Hidimba's son with a large number of chariots. There were 6,000 elephants that were always crazy, with riders prepared to strike. They roared like lions. There was a great sound from the wheels of the chariots. There was a roar from the sound of hooves. The earth began to tremble. On hearing the sounds of those advancing ones, the faces of your soldiers paled. They were anxious because of their fear of Bhimasena. O great king, they abandoned Gatotkacha and fled from the field of battle. A battle then commenced between the great-souled ones on your side and those of the enemy. Neither side wished to retreat from the encounter. The Maharathas used many different kinds of weapons. They attacked each other and struck each other. That extremely terrible battle struck terror in the minds of those who are cowards. Horse riders encountered elephant riders. Infantry clashed with chariot riders. O king, in that encounter, they challenged each other and attacked each other. Because of that clash, a terrible and great dust arose from chariots, horses, elephants, infantry, footsteps, and wheels. That dust was thick, like red smoke, and covered the arena of the battle. O king, it was impossible to distinguish those on one's own side from those of the enemy. The father did not recognize the son did not recognize the father. No mercy was shown in the encounter, and it made the body hair stand up. O best of the Bharata lineage, there was the sound of weapons and the roar of men. There was an extremely large din, like that of bamboos being burnt. A river of blood began to flow there, and the waves were elephants, horses, and men. The hair constituted the weeds and moss. The heads and bodies of men fell down in that battle, and a great sound was heard, like that of stones falling down. The earth was strewn with the torsos of men, the mangled bodies of elephants, and the mutilated bodies of horses. The Maharathas released many different kinds of weapons. They attacked each other and struck each other, urged by horse riders. Horses clashed against horses. In that battle, they dashed against each other and fell down devoid of life. Men attacked men, their eyes extremely red with rage. They struck each other with their chests and thus killed each other. Urged by the trainers, elephants attacked the elephants of the enemy, and in that encounter they slew the others with the points of their tusks. They were adorned with pennants and were covered in blood. In that clash, they looked like clouds tinged with lightning. Some had their trunks sliced into two. Others had their bodies lacerated. They fell down in that tumult like mountains with their wings sliced off. Footnote. Mountains are believed to have possessed wings until Indra lopped them off. Mount Mainaka was the only one which escaped. End of footnote. Some supreme elephants had their sides ripped open by other elephants. They shed large quantities of blood, like mountains exuding minerals. Some were slain through iron arrows. Others were pierced by javelins. Without their riders, they were seen to be like mountains without summits. Some of them were blind with anger and madness. No longer controlled, they crushed hundreds of chariots, horses, and infantry in that encounter. Horse riders pierced horses with spears and javelins. They rushed against each other, confused about the directions. Rathas born in noble lineages fought with other rathas, ready to give up their bodies. They resorted to the best of their strength and acted without any fear. O king, those skilled in battle sought fame or heaven and fought each other as if in a swayamvara. Thus the battle raged there, and it made the body hair stand up. The great army of the sons of Dhritarashtra were generally made to retreat. Okay, I'll go on a bit more. Chapter 950, part 90, which would correspond to chapter 95, section 95 in Ganguli's. Sanjaya said, on seeing that his own soldiers had been killed, King Duryodhana angrily attacked Bhimasena. the destroyer of enemies. He grasped a giant bow, which had a sound like that of Indra's Vajra. He covered Pandava with a great shower of arrows. He was full of rage. He affixed an extremely sharp arrow that was in the shape of a half moon and was tufted with hair. He sliced down Bhimasena's bow with this. Thereafter, the Mahabharata saw an opportunity. He affixed an extremely sharp arrow that was capable of shattering mountains. With this, the mighty armed one struck Bhimasena in the chest. He was severely pierced and wounded and licked the corners of his mouth. The energetic one sought the support of his standard, which was decorated with gold. On seeing Bhimasena in that dispirited state, Gatotkacha blazed up in anger like a fire that can consume everything. With Abhimanyu at the forefront, all the Mahabharata Pandavas dashed angrily towards the king, roaring loudly. On seeing them advance in fury and rage, Bharadwaja's son spoke these words to the Maharatas on your side. "O fortunate ones, go swiftly and protect the king. I think he confronts a great danger and is submerged in an ocean of distress. These Mahabharata Pandavas are great archers and are angry. With Bhimasena at the forefront, they are attacking Duryodhana. With victory in mind, they are using many different kinds of weapons. They are uttering terrible roars and are terrifying the kings." On hearing the words of the preceptor, with Somadatta at the forefront, many on your side attacked the army of the Pandavas. Kripa, Burishkava, Shalya, Drona's son, Vivimshati, Chitrasena, Vikarna, Saindava, Brihadbala, and the two great archers from Avanti. They surrounded Kaurava. They advanced only 20 steps and began to strike each other. The Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra sought to kill each other. Having spoken those words, Bharadwaja's mighty armed son stretched his own gigantic bow and pierced Bhima with 26 arrows. Yet again, the mighty armed one quickly enveloped him with arrows. It was like the slayer of Bala showering rain on a mountain during the autumn. However, Bhimasena was extremely strong. The great archer swiftly pierced him back on the left side with 10 arrows. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, he was severely pierced and wounded. He was also elderly in years. He became unconscious and suddenly sat down on the floor of his chariot. On seeing that the preceptor was wounded, King Duryodhana himself and Drona's son became angry and attacked Bhimasena. Each of them was like Yama at the end of a yuga. On seeing them advance, the mighty armed Bhimasena quickly grasped a club. He instantly descended from his chariot and stood as immobile as a mountain. That heavy club looked like Yama's staff raised in battle. On seeing him with the upraised club, like the summit of Kailasa, Kaurava and Drona's son rushed at him together. Vrikodara also swiftly rushed at those supreme among strong ones, and they forcefully advanced against him. On seeing him advance in rage, terrible in his visage, many Kaurava Maharatas quickly attacked him. With Bharadwaja's son at the forefront, all of them wished to kill Bhimasena. They hurled many different kinds of weapons towards Bhimasena's chest. Together, all of them oppressed Pandava from every direction. On beholding that the Mahabharata was oppressed and faced a great danger, Abhimanyu and the other Pandava Maharatas advanced to rescue him, ready to give up their lives. The brave lord of the marshy regions was Bhima's beloved friend. Nila possessed a complexion that was blue like the clouds, and in anger he attacked Drona's son. The great archer had always sought to challenge Drona's son. He drew his large bow and pierced Drona's son with arrows. O great king, it was like Shakra piercing the invincible Danava Viprachitti, who was the terror of the gods in earlier times. Through his anger and energy, he had terrified the three worlds. In that way, Nila pierced him with arrows that were well tipped. Drona's son was wounded and covered with blood and overcome with rage. He drew his colourful bow with a roar like that of Indra's Vajra. The supreme among intelligent ones made up his mind to destroy Nila. He affixed, polished, and broad-headed arrows that had been crafted by a blacksmith, and slew his 4 horses, and brought down his standard. With a 7th broad-headed arrow, he pierced Nila in the breast. He was severely pierced and wounded, and sat down on his chariot. King Nila possessed the complexion of the clouds. On seeing that he was unconscious, Gatotkacha became angry. Surrounded by his brothers, he impetuously rushed towards Drona's son, who was the ornament of any battle. In that fashion, many other Rakshasas, invincible in battle, also advanced. On seeing that Rakshasa, terrible in form, advance towards him, Bharadwaja's spirited son became angry and killed many Rakshasas who were terrible in form, especially those enraged Rakshasas who were leading from the front. On seeing that they were repulsed as a consequence of the arrows released from the bow of Drona's son, Gatotkacha, Bhimasena's son, who was gigantic in size, became angry. He resorted to great Maya, that was fearful in the form of and extremely terrible. In that encounter, the lord of the Rakshasas, skilled in the use of Maya, confounded Drona's son. Because of that Maya, all those on your side retreated. They saw each other lying down immobile on the face of the ground, writhing in convulsions, miserable and covered in blood. Drona, Duryodhana, Shalya, Ashwatthama, and the other great archers who were generally regarded as the foremost among the Kauravas were also in that state. All the chariots seemed to be shattered, the elephants brought down, horses and horse riders were cut down in thousands. On seeing this, all the soldiers on our side fled towards their camps, O king. I and Devavrata shouted, "Fight, do not run away. This is the Maya of Rakshasas in battle. It has been applied by Gatotkacha." But they were confused, confounded, and did not stay. Though both of us shouted in this way, they were frightened and did not pay attention to our words. On seeing that they were running away, the Pandavas thought that they were victorious. Together with Gatotkacha, they roared like lions. The roars and sounds of conch shells and drums resounded in every direction. You ready, Kana, to do one more? Thus, all your soldiers were routed by Hidimba's evil-souled son and fled in different directions. It was time for the sun to set. Yeah, do one more and then we'll finish, yeah?
Yeah, all right. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Which chapter is it in Ganguli's?
You're now on chapter 96.
Okay.
So just read that and then we'll stop.
Yeah. Chapter 96. Sanjaya said, after that great battle, King Duryodhana approached Ganga's son and saluting him with humility, began to narrate to him all that had happened about the victory won by Gatotkacha and his own defeat. That invincible warrior, O king, sighing repeatedly, said these words unto Bhishma, the grandsire of the Kurus. O Lord, relying upon thee as Vasudev hath been relied upon by the foe, a fierce war hath been commenced by me with the Pandavas. These 11 Akshohinis of celebrated troops that I have are, with myself, obedient to thy command, O chastiser of foes. O tiger among the Bharatas, though thus situated, yet have I been defeated into battle by the Pandav warriors headed by Bhimasen, relying upon Gatotkacha. It is this that consumeth my limbs like fire, consuming a dry tree. O blessed one, O chastiser of foes, I therefore desire through thy grace, O grandsire, to slay Gatotchaka myself, that worst of Rakshasas, relying upon thy invincible self, relying upon thy invincible self. It behoveth thee to see that wish of mine may be fulfilled. Hearing these words of the king, that foremost one among the Bharatas, Bhishma, the son of Shantanu, said these words unto Duryodhana. Listen, O king, to these words of mine that I say unto thee. O thou of Kuru's race, about the way in which thou, O chastiser of foes, shouldest always behave. One's own self, under all circumstances, should be protected in battle, O repressor of foes. Thou shouldest always, O sinless one, battle with King Yudhisthira, the just, or with Arjuna, or with the twins, or with Bhimasen. Keeping the duty of a king before himself, a king striketh a king. Myself, and Drona, and Kripa, and Drona's son, and Kritivarman of the Satvata race, and Salya, and Somadatta's son, and that mighty car warrior Vikarna, and thy heroic brothers headed by Dusasana, will all for thy sake battle against that mighty Rakshasa. Or if thy grief on account of that fierce prince of the Rakshasas be too great, let this one proceed in battle against that wicked warrior, that is to say, King Bhagadatta, who is equal unto Purandara himself in a fight. Having said this much unto the king, the grandsire skilled in speech then addressed Bhagadatta in the presence of the Kuru king, saying, Proceed quickly, O great monarch, against that invincible warrior, the son of Hidimva. Resist in battle with care, and in view of all the bowmen, that Rakshasa of cruel deeds, like Indra in days of old resisting Taraka. Thy weapons are celestial, thy prowess also is great, O chastiser of foes. In days of old many have been the encounters that thou hadst with Asuras, O tiger among kings. Thou art that Rakshasa's match in great battle. Strongly supported by thy own troops, slay, O king, that bull among Rakshasas. Hearing these words of Bhishma, the generalissimo of the Kaurava army, Bhagadatta specially set out with a leonine roar facing the ranks of the foe. Beholding him advance towards them like a mass of roaring clouds, many mighty car warriors of the Pandava army proceeded against him, inflamed with wrath. They were Bhimasen, and Abhimanyu, and the Rakshasa Gatotkacha, and the sons of Draupadi, and Satyajiti, and Kshatradeva, O sire, and the rulers of the Chedis, and Vasudana, and the king of the Darsarnas. Bhagadatta then, on his elephant named Supratika, rushed against them. Then commenced a fierce and awful battle between the Pandavas and Bhagadatta that increased the population of Yama's kingdom. Shafts of terrible energy and great impetuosity, shot by car warriors, fell, O king, on elephants and cars. Huge elephants with rent temples and trained to the fight by their guides, approaching, fell upon one another fearlessly, blind with fury, consequence of the temporal juice trickling down their bodies, and excited with rage, attacking one another with their tusks, resembling stout bludgeons. They pierced one another with the points of those weapons. Graced with excellent graced with excellent tails, and ridden by warriors armed with lances, steeds urged by those riders fell fearlessly and with great impetuosity upon one another, and foot soldiers attacked by bodies of foot soldiers with darts and lances fell down on the earth by hundreds and thousands, and car warriors upon their cars, slaughtering heroic adversaries in that battle by means of barbed arrows and muskets and shafts, uttered leonine shouts. And during the progress of the battle, making the hair stand on end, that great bowman, Bhagadatta, rushed towards Bhimasen on his elephant, rent temples, with juice trickling down in 7 currents, and resembling, on that account, a mountain, with as many rivulets flowing down its breast after a shower. And he came, O sinless one, scattering thousands of arrows from the head of Supratika, whereon he stood, like the illustrious Purandara himself on his Airavat. King Bhagadatta afflicted Bhimasen with that arrowy shower like the clouds afflicting the mountain breast with torrents of rain it's a typo. Expiry of summer, the end of summer. That mighty bowman, Bhimasen, however, excited with rage, slew by his arrowy showers the combatants numbering more than 100 that protected the flanks and rear of Bhagadatta. Beholding them slain, the valiant Bhagadatta, filled with rage, urged his prince of elephants towards Bhimasen's car. That elephant, thus urged by him, rushed impetuously like an arrow propelled from the bowstring towards Bhimasen, that chastiser of foes. Beholding that elephant advancing, the mighty car warriors of the Pandava army, placing Bhimasen at their head, themselves rushed towards it. Those warriors were the 5 Kekaya princes, and Abhimanyu, and the 5 sons of Draupadi, and the heroic ruler of the Dasaranas, and Shatradeva also, O sire, and the ruler of the Chetis, and Chitraketu. And all these mighty warriors came inflamed with anger, and exhibiting their excellent celestial weapons. And they all surrounded in anger that single elephant on which their adversary rode. Pierced with many shafts, that huge elephant, covered with gore flowing from his wounds, looked resplendent like a prince of mountains variegated with liquefied red chalk after a shower. The ruler of the Dasarnas then, on an elephant that resembled a mountain, rushed towards Bhagadatta's elephant. So the ruler of the Dasarnas on an elephant that resembled a mountain rushed towards Bhagadatta's elephant. That prince of elephants, however, Supratika, bore the rush of that advancing compeer like the continent bearing the rush of the surging sea. Beholding that elephant of the high-souled king of the Dasarnas thus resisted, even the Pandava troops, applauding, cried, "Excellent! Excellent!" Then that best of kings, the ruler of the Pragyatishas, excited with rage, sped 4 and 10 lances at that elephant. These speedily penetrating through the excellent armor, decked with gold, that covered the animal's body, entered into it like snakes entering anthills. Deeply pierced and exceedingly pained, that elephant, O chief of the Bharatas, its fury quelled, speedily turned back with great force, and it fled away with great swiftness, uttering frightful shrieks and crushing the Pandava ranks like the tempest crushing trees with its violence. After that elephant was thus vanquished, the mighty car warriors of the Pandava army, uttering loud leonine shouts, approached for battle. Placing Bhima at their head, they rushed at Bhagadatta, scattering diverse kinds of arrows and diverse kinds of weapons. Hearing the fierce shouts, O king, of those advancing warriors swelling with rage and vengeance, that great bowman Bhagadatta, filled with rage and perfectly fearless, urged his own elephant. That prince of elephants then, thus urged with the hook and the toe, soon assumed the form of the all-destructive Samvarta fire that appears at the end of the Yuga. Crushing crowds of cars and hostile compeers and steeds with riders in that battle, it began, O king, to turn hither and thither. Filled with rage, it also crushed foot soldiers by hundreds and thousands. Attacked and agitated by that elephant, that large force of the Pandavas shrank in dimensions. O king, like a piece of leather exposed to the heat of fire. Beholding, then, the Pandava array broken by the intelligent Bhagadatta, Ghatotkacha of fierce mien, O king, with blazing face and eyes red as fire, filled with rage, rushed towards him. Assuming a terrible form and burning with wrath, he took up a bright dart capable of riving the very hills. Endued with great strength, he forcibly hurled that dart that emitted blazing flames from every part, desirous of slaying that elephant. Beholding it coursing towards him with great impetuosity, the ruler of the Prajatisas sped at it, a beautiful but fierce and sharp arrow with a crescent head. Possessed of great energy, he cut off that dart with that arrow of his. Thereupon that dart, decked with gold thus divided in twain, dropped down on the ground, like the bolt of heaven hurled by Indra, flashing through the welkin. Beholding that dart of his adversary, O king, divided in twain and fallen on the ground, Bhagadatta took up a large javelin furnished with a golden staff and resembling a flame of fire in effulgence, and hurled it at the Rakshasa, saying, "Wait, wait!" Seeing it coursing towards him like the bolt of heaven through the welkin, the Rakshasa jumped up and speedily seizing it, uttered a loud shout, and, quickly placing it against his knee, O Bharata, he broke it in the very sight of all the kings. All this seemed exceedingly wonderful, beholding that feat achieved by the mighty Rakshasa. The celestials in the firmament, with the Gandharvas and the Munis, were filled with wonder, and the Pandava warriors also, headed by Bhimasen, filled the earth with cries of "Excellent, excellent." Hearing, however, those loud shouts of the rejoicing Pandavas, that great bowman, the valiant Bhagadatta, could not bear it. Drawing his large bow, whose effulgence resembled that of Indra's bolt, he roared with great energy at the mighty car warriors of the Pandava army, shooting at the same time many bright arrows of great sharpness, and possessed of the effulgence of fire. And he pierced Bhima with one arrow, and the Rakshasa with 9, and he pierced Abhimanyu with 3, and the Kekaya brothers with 5. And with another straight arrow shot from his bow drawn to its fullest stretch, he pierced, in that battle, the right arm of Shatradeva. Thereupon, the latter's bow with arrow fixed on the bowstring dropped down from his hand. That would be Shatradeva. And he struck the fire. Oh, yeah. Excuse me, this is back to Bhagadatta. Thereupon, and he struck Bhagadatta, and Bhagadatta struck the 5 sons of Draupadi with 5 arrows, and from wrath he slew the steeds of Bhimesen, and with 3 shafts winged with feathers he cut down Bhimasen's standard bearing the device of a lion, and with 3 other shafts he pierced Bhima's charioteer, deeply pierced by Bhagadatta in that battle, and exceedingly pained. Visoka, thereupon, O chief of the Bharatas, sat down on the terrace of the car. Then, O king, that foremost of car warriors, Bhima, thus deprived of his car, quickly jumped down from his large vehicle, taking up his mace. Beholding him with mace upraised and looking like a crested hill, all thy troops, O Bharata, became filled with great fear. Just at this time, that son of Pandu who had Krishna for his charioteer, O king, slaughtering the foe on all sides as he came, appeared at that spot where those tigers among men, those mighty car warriors, Bhimasena and Gatotkacha, sire and son, were engaged with the ruler of the Pragjotishas. Beholding his brothers, those mighty car warriors, engaged in battle, that son of Pandu quickly commenced to fight, profusely scattering his shafts, O chief of the Bharatas. Then that mighty car warrior, King Duryodhana, speedily urged on a division of his troops abounding with cars and elephants. Towards that mighty division of the Kauravas thus advancing with impetuosity, Arjuna, Arjuna of white steeds also rushed with great impetuosity. Bhagadatta also, upon that elephant of his, O Bharata, crushing the Pandava ranks, rushed towards Yudhisthira. Then commenced a fierce battle between Bhagadatta, O sire, and the Panchalas, the Srinjayas, and the Kekayas with upraised weapons. Then Bhimasen, in that battle, told both Keshava and Arjuna in detail about the slaughter of Iravat as it had occurred. And that ends the chapter. I imagine we're stopping there.
Great, Masura.
Yes, okay, I'll stop recording right now then.